asking themselves, how is it possible that hundreds of Palestinian quote-unquote prisoners, really they're hostages in their own right, how is it possible that there's so many hundreds of Palestinians being held and being released at the behest of, Hamas's demands? It may be confusing to some to see, just a couple dozen hostages from the Israeli side being released for hundreds of Palestinians. Well, the answer is basically the fact that there's this repressive police state style dictatorship that wantonly just arrests hundreds of people, detains them arbitrarily, keeps them without charges or trial. And that's precisely what we've seen ramp up and escalate in the aftermath of October 7th. Hundreds and hundreds of Palestinians, including dozens of children and women, not to take away the revolutionary agency or political agency of women, but it is just unbelievable how many people have been detained arbitrarily and held. Why aren't they called hostages? I have no idea. But it just, again, just kind of paints the picture of what Palestinians are living under. They cannot raise a Palestinian flag. They cannot practice any political activity. It is crazy. I mean, they can set up arbitrary checkpoints, resort these people's lives to a living hell, set up just random blockades that can reroute people, just take hours out of their day just to make their lives extremely uncomfortable. But it just goes far beyond that. I mean, raiding, killing Palestinians arbitrarily, having no recourse whatsoever. You certainly cannot have armed resistance. I mean, anything that can be construed as a weapon in these people's homes or cars can just subject you to not only humiliating tactics, but also just being thrown in prison. I mean, we're talking about such a crazy level of control that simply, the David versus Goliath, just symbolism of throwing a rock at a tank. There's a law on the books that can put a Palestinian child in prison for 20 years for simply throwing a rock at an armed tank. So these are the kind of measures that have been in place since 1967 when this military dictatorship was imposed illegally. And ever since then, we've been placated as Westerners with this promise of a two-state solution, which has just been a cover for the continued annexation of the West Bank. And under Trump, we've seen just a complete rapid greenlighting of just continuing that policy.